Okay guys, so welcome to what is a brand new series basically on this YouTube channel. So I've never really done a series like this before. Like before this I've always just done one topic, one episode. Every now and again I've got a few videos where I've done a sort of repeat thing, like a part two kind of thing, but normally I just have one theme per episode, and obviously there are overarching themes to any YouTube channel, but generally that's just been how I've done it. But I was having a chat with a friend yesterday, and he was just we were just chatting about our careers and like business ideas and like what we both wanted to do in the future. And he was saying like, if you want to be a digital nomads and you've got this YouTube channel, like just start making like a series around it. And he was just like, yeah, you could call it something like accountants, digital nomads, And I just thought about it, and to be fair, I see a lot of videos of this style, of this kind of niche on YouTube all the time, of like day 3 of, and it's like of a certain topic of something that someone's working towards. And, I recognise that this digital nomad thing, it could be an overnight thing, but it is likely going to be more of I'd say a middle to long term thing, that it's going to take for me to get organised and set it up. And there's a lot of things that are holding me in the way. And so I think this is a great thing to just, while I'm on this journey of doing it, I can just journal this and just talk about my experiences, what's holding me back, and talk about my successes over the way. So I'm not going to do this every day. I'm going to do it more as kind of, when I feel like there's a good episode that I can talk about it. But basically, just watch out for these series that are going to drop, probably weekly, depending on what's happening. I'm just going to explain basically how I transition from my current situation, where I work a 9 to 5 office job as a tax accountant in Oxford, to being a digital nomad, so to relocating to Southeast Asia. I'm going to talk about it in quite a lot of detail. So yeah, join us for the ride. But I think a good place to start with this topic is kind of what motivates me to be a digital nomad, and how I've ended up in the situation that I am today. Because I feel like that's the really important thing. And yeah, it's interesting because I think the situation I'm in, if you took a profile of my personality, like what I enjoy doing, what I'm good at, what I do in my spare time, I think the situation I'm in, like the job I have and where I live, they wouldn't be like your first guess. Because I'm basically, like I say, I work as a tax accountant, and I live in Oxford. But both these things, like they're not really like the typical things that I think I would do. Like, take tax accounting for example. Realistically, like I studied classics at university, like, which is a sort of humanities subject. It's very essay based. It's very about writing. And in a sense, yeah, like when I tell people like I now work as an accountant, people are very surprised, and they're like, yeah, I would never have thought you would be an accountant. It's very weird. And there's actually, I do think there's a lot of reason why actually classics is not so different from accounting. We'll get into that, but I do get what people mean when they say that. I do recognise that. And similarly with where I live, I've always had myself, like I've always recognised this about myself, that I don't like living in small towns. Like, I grew up in a village, and I went to school in like a small town, and I feel like by the time I left home and went to university, I really had a big thing of like, oh, I don't want to live in a small town again. You know, like I want to live in like a big centralized city where there's a lot of stuff going on. And I really recognised that about myself. And yeah, so it's funny that I'm in the situation I'm in today, where I've ended up in like a relatively small town. I mean, I know people say Oxford is a city or whatever, like it's a small city, right? But fundamentally, it's just strange that I'm 23, you know, and I've ended up in a life situation that is relatively far removed from what I naturally would, what people would naturally choose for me, almost, if they had like a accurate profile of who I was. I don't think that's what most people would be like, oh yeah, this is what Alfie should do. I think in some sense, like, I haven't set my life up very well for like success. You know, like, I think really just putting all this stuff about being a digital nomad aside, because we'll get to that. Really, if I had to, I'm in a situation where I've got a degree, I've got a certain amount of skills, and I could position things very differently. You know, I could be living in a bigger city. I could be living in London or Manchester, or, you know, I mean, they're probably the two cities that I'd consider. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's not like there aren't jobs in any of those cities that I could get. You know, I talk to some people who live in Oxford, who are here, you know, for work, like similar situation to me, who genuinely do need to be in Oxford because there's of the nature of work that's here. You know, like people in Oxford, like the jobs that tend to go here, it tends to be science-based jobs. So like there's a big science park, and obviously because of the university, there's lots of research and stuff. So most people who live in Oxford, it's something like that. There's some kind of science-based job, or it's something to do with the university. You know, and there are exceptions or whatever, but my point is, most people I talk to who are in a similar situation to me here, like they're not in Oxford because it's because their work like demands them to be there. You know, like they couldn't get the same job in Manchester or even in London or something like that. Or I talk to people who are in a complete opposite thing. I speak to people who are in Oxford, you know, like my co-workers or whatever, and they talk about why they're, you know, like what they like about Oxford and stuff. And people will often say this to me, they don't like London, they find it too busy, and they find it a bit overwhelming, and they prefer living in Oxford. And I say, okay, that's interesting. So I'm in a situation where I'm surrounded by people who either kind of just genuinely don't want to live in like a big city and prefer living in a small town, or people who basically have to live here. They don't have a choice about it, and they'd rather have the job in this specific place than like go and live somewhere there. Rather, there's a nice place to live, but the work is worse. So yeah, and I see myself as I'm in a quite small category of people who don't particularly want to live in Oxford for any real reason, and don't really have to. You know, like even if I was going to stay in accounting, I could literally just have got a job in London that was exactly the same. And so yeah, it's a bit of a funny situation that I'm in. I do feel like the wind is just kind of blowing me places, and I'm just kind of drifting around. You know, and I don't think this is uncommon. Like I do see other guys who are often of a similar personality to me, where similar things happen, where they're just kind of floating around different towns, and you know, 1 minute they're here, 1 minute they're there, you know, and it's a bit like what I've done. You know, like I was in London for a bit, working there, and I've sort of floated back here in Oxford. And to be honest, like, I do feel like I could easily float somewhere else quite happily. I don't feel like, oh, I'm in Oxford now and this is where I'm going to stay forever. And yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why this is. I feel like, yeah, it's kind of partly to do with my personality. There's a whole variety of things, but yeah, I just recognise that I've really just sort of floated into this position that I'm not really sure why I'm here. None of it really makes any sense. And it's easy to be like, oh, but it all happens for a reason, that kind of thing. But to be honest, like, no, this is a weird situation I'm in, and obviously I'm going to be talking a lot about being a digital nomad and stuff like that. The thing about being a digital nomad is there are some realistic blocks to me being a digital nomad, and I do think it is probably a lot easier than people make it out to be, being a digital nomad. But I do see there are some realistic blocks. Like, I was talking to my brother about my desire to be a digital nomad quite recently, and he was saying to me like really, you want all that faff of like having to sort out your taxes and not having secure work and stuff like that, and he was just giving me all these like valid reasons for like not being a digital nomad. I just kind of thought like, yeah, I don't know, I guess so. But the point I'm trying to make here is like, there are some genuine reasons as to why I wouldn't be a digital nomad right now, because I'm not, I don't have the knowledge about how to market myself online, use the skills I have to make money online. Like I say, you can learn these skills. I don't think it's that difficult, but it is a roadblock, it is. I do kind of forgive myself in a sense that I'm 23 and I haven't figured out how to make at least $2,000 a month online yet. Like, I can forgive myself for that. But what is stranger and what I'm sort of pondering on more is like, okay, I'm 23 and I might not be able to be living in this dream scenario where I'm in Southeast Asia, living in Thailand or whatever, making money online. But I could have found a place that I would enjoy more to live. I could have found a job that was better suited to my natural skills. And why haven't I done that? It's really weird. I do think about it. Like, I could have just got this job in London and my life would have been more enjoyable. I'm not saying I don't like Oxford, like, it is a nice place, but I do recognise that, like, that's just a small thing, that there was no need for me to live here. Like, I could have literally just gone and lived in London. There's not like, like I say, like, I can forgive myself that I'm not living in Thailand yet. There is a genuine skills that I need to learn in order to get to that. But with London, like, I could have literally got the same kind of job in London, and my life situation would have been better than it already is. And that doesn't require anything for me to do. Obviously, like, I'm here now. It's a bit late in one sense, but it wouldn't have required anything for me to live in London instead of here, and that would have been an improvement in my life that I could have made. And similarly, I could have found a job that was better suited to my skill set. And again, like, maybe I'll talk about this a bit later. Like, I do think there is some sense in which actually, tax is not a bad thing to get into. Like, I'm quite happy with it. And in some sense, like, all of this in some profound way just kind of reflects my true personality. But just on the face of it, tax, really? I've got something that aligns better with what I studied at university, that probably I would have enjoyed more. You know, something that uses my skill set a bit better. Something like, you know, I mean, I don't know. Now I say it, it's kind of difficult to think of something, but, you know, journalism or something in politics, something a bit more language based, you know, something a bit more words based as opposed to numbers based, you know, and like I say, like I'm sort of caveating this quite a lot, but you know, you could say on the face of it, oh, it's good to work on your weaknesses and stuff like that, and that's kind of what I'm doing in this tax job, and that's partly why I got it, is because I wanted to like test my weaknesses or whatever. But at least in the face of it, you could say you have a you know, I studied classics at university. I have a disposition for I appear to have stretched my hand a bit. I have a disposition for languages and the written words and whatever, using language and writing and whatever. And yet I'm not capitalising on it, and it's kind of why am I not doing it? And I've really thought about this a lot myself. And I'm in a kind of weird situation now where I'm in this situation where I'm living in a place that is you know, perfectly nice, but it's not like, I'm not super excited about it, and I'm doing a job that again it's perfectly fine, whatever, but again I'm not super excited about it, and but I kind of think like it would have cost me nothing. There would have been no skill set required for me to have improved my situation. And it's like, why didn't I take those optimizations? Why didn't I decide to live in a bigger city? Why didn't I decide to work in a job that was more naturally suited to what I'm doing? And yeah, I'm kind of in this weird position where part of me says like, look, just focus on becoming a digital nomad. You know, that's something that's clearly important to you. That's something you're clearly interested in. But then another part of me thinks, you know what, actually, how about I just do the zero cost things I could do right now, you know, to improve my life, get a job that's better suited to your natural talents, relocate somewhere that you want to live more. Now, obviously, I've signed a lease in this house. I've got a commitment to the people that I'm staying with, but you know, even if like pretend that didn't exist, part of me thinks I should do that first and then be a digital nomad. Yeah, so I'm in this kind of strange situation that I've ended up here, and yeah, I just think it's worth reflecting on that, because I think what this tells me, basically, what this tells us is that my natural motivations I'm not totally in sync with my motivations. Like, I think in some sense I am, but I'm not really truly aware of what motivates me and what's going on inside my brain, because otherwise I would have known why I've ended up in Oxford working for a job that I have no background in. And yeah, it's a weird one. So anyway, just to round this up, because I've got to go. I'm looking to become a digital nomad, but I still feel like there are things that I could have done to optimize the situation I'm in right now that I didn't do, and it's not clear to me why I didn't do those things. As food for thought, because if I can understand that, then I can get a deeper sense of what motivates me more profoundly, and then go forth from a stronger place. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. And yeah, I'm gonna be uploading more. I had a hiatus because I've been working on had a big backlog of videos that I've got to edit. Those will probably be done this week, next week. So I'm gonna get back onto upload. I've got a lot of content just cooking basically that's gonna come out. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure, and see you soon.